Hi everybody, I'm Ryan, and the death of Red-Black Midrange and Pioneer has been greatly exaggerated. A lot of people forget that Red-Black Midrange was very good before the Vampires combo, and it's still good afterward. Maybe even better. Recently I 5-0'd a league with Red-Black Midrange, and I'd like to take you through that. However, I have some bad news. I did the first round of the league on my laptop. So yeah. Unfortunately, Magic Online saves it by device, so I don't have that match on the computer I record on. So I apologize. So I'm bringing you through rounds 2 through 5 of my 5-0. So let's do it. This is the deck I was playing with. I apologize. I rent off of Mana Traders. Very good service, by the way. This is essentially like a reasonably stock list from beforehand with a few differences. One, I'm playing less Reckoner Bankbuster because there's less other mid-range decks and less control decks that I'm like really worried about. I'm playing less Bonecrusher Giant because Bonecrusher has just gotten worse, like significantly. Even the aggro decks have like really easy ways to save them, and you're playing a lot less mirror matches. I'm playing Inti. I really liked Inti, and after making those conclusions of less Bankbuster, less Bonecrusher Giant, it left some open slots. Really into Inti. And I'm also a fan of Shoot the Sheriff. It pretty much kills like most creatures in Pioneer. It's not totally unconditional. There are a few things that are relevant, but Shoot the Sheriff as one of the three things. I might play a different card than Power Word Kill. This might become a bitter triumph, but I was pretty happy with my removal suite. And then in the sideboard, you notice I'm playing 4 Hitotsugu Consumes All. This is mostly as a metagame response to Jund Sack being really popular, which has historically been a leaning bad matchup for Red-Black Midrange. But also for the Red-Black aggro deck that has been extremely popular in Pioneer and has been tearing it up. Hitotsugu really cleans it up against that deck. That being said, here is round 2. I'm just going to hit play and kind of try to talk over it. Here we go. So beginning hand, very good. We have the Fatal Push in case it's a quick deck, which it likely is because of Gigantha. The Gigantha is revealed over here. We're just going to remove Paw Patch. Paw Patch is one of those things that gets better the longer it stays on the battlefield because other things get +1/+1 counters. They plot a Slick Shot show off, and we just play our Blood Tithe Harvester. We're just advancing our board. Next turn, depending on which we want to do, we can either do a Kroxa and a Thoughtseize, or just jam a Graveyard Trespasser and gain some life. They decided not to play the thick Slick Shot, which is a giant sign of weakness. Hitting things off Questing Druid anyway. Yeah, at this point, we're very, very far ahead, especially drawing that removal spell. We're just going to sit on this removal spell until they do something we're really like afraid of. We noticed that okay, hold on. I want to pause and explain that play really quick. So their hand is, we took a Monstrous Rage, right? Yeah. Oh no, we took a Targus Command. So the hand is 2 Monstrous Rage, and they have a plotted Slick Shot show off. And my thought with killing the Soulscar Mage before they untapped is they're already going to just like play Slick Shot, monsters both creatures. I'd rather monstrous Slick Shot twice, and that puts them all in and essentially no cards in hand, or I guess an unknown in hand, because 2 monstrous on a Slick Shot is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 damage, and I'm at 20, so I just go to 10, and then my opponent has a 3/2 Slick Shot with trample. It's just like thumbs up, keep jamming my creatures. So I was totally okay with that play. What I didn't want to happen was for them to split their damage with the Monstrous Rages, or just hold up the Monstrous Rages until I finally pull the trigger on something. In any case, they decided to just play their Questing Druid, play the Slick Shot, pump up the Questing Druid. That all makes sense. We know they have a Monstrous Rage. I'm really surprised they didn't just do that. But they're wanting to go wide and do the strategy that I just talked about. Just play a Kroxa, make them discard one of their Monstrous Rages. I'm pretty afraid of the Monstrous Rage. Now we can either play Hive or Blood Token the Hive. I decided to play the Hive because then if I draw a land, I can just empty my hand. There's also an argument for Graveyard Trespassing my own Blood Tithe or Kroxa, but I am genuinely thinking about bringing back the Kroxa. Again, very surprised that they did not use their Monstrous Rage. They would rather just put Gigantha in their hand and leave a mana up. I'm not really sure what's going on here. But I'm able to use the Inti, Attack with Graveyard Trespasser, excuse me. I'm just going to discard the Graveyard Trespasser in my hand. Be able to just like pump up my attacking creature. I get rid of one of the creatures in my graveyard and one thing in theirs. I'm at 15, they're at 3, and they're pretty much dead on board. We know they still have a Monstrous Rage. They just decide to play Gigantha. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I think I would have been very much more aggressive, but they're playing hyper defensive. I get to Thoughtseize that homie out of their hand, and then play the Kroxa just to straight up have the kill because they have no cards in hand and they lose 3 life. So that's game 1. Game 2 against Gruul aggro. Hand's fine. We get to torch the tower on turn 1, which is really nice. It's looking like we won't need it, but we get to just kind of leave it up during our opponent's turn, as well as being able to turn 2 Blood Tithe Harvester and or shoot the Sheriff, which is both pretty decent. They decide to Swift Spear. Unfortunately, this means Torch the Tower does nothing, so we're having our cards line up really poorly against our opponent. We just play this Blood Tithe, get on board. Things are not looking up at the moment. I decided to just let it through. Paw Patch is pretty sketchy. We're just hitting the Paw Patch, and then killing the Monastery Swift Spear. Unfortunately, they can protect their Swift Spear. I decide to not attack because blocking. I think I remember them having a pump spell through this and it just being really bad for me. Oh no, they didn't. I guess. Okay, that's good for me. And then I draw Hitotsugu, which is insane. Especially them after like not playing anything. They seek the beast, so that's not great. Hitting Soulscar Mage. I'm a little surprised they didn't play Questing Druid as well. That's a little bit of a red flag, so I decided to advance my board as much as possible. The issue is, oh, they have another Seek the Beast. The issue is that my hand is not very good against my opponent's deck, like at all. Especially after that Tarkus command, I go to 3. I'm discarding 2 cards, just looking for like anything. I decide to play Archfiend now that I have like 2 blockers. That should be good enough. However, they had another Tarkus command in hand, so I lost that game. In game 3, we keep a fine hand. We're going to hit our land drops. We have a removal spell. If we draw like a single non-land off the top of our deck, this hand is very good, and Inti will help us with that. But we just peel the Blood Tithe Harvester off the top, which is the ideal turn 2 play. Which means next turn we get to play Inti, discard a land, and be able to just like still have Fatal Push Up, which is just disgusting, like as a whole. I think that was a misclick. I think I meant to discard off of that. I remember being kind of upset with that misclick. Ideally, we would have discarded something, if anything, to pump them up, or before we played a land, and whatnot. I decide to block, which triggers Revolt, which means we can deal with the Rampaging Ferocidon, just like everything's really clean. We are still advancing our board, playing the Archfiend. Attacking, things are feeling really good. We have the blood token to continue to dig if we really need to. They play a Questing Druid with no green up, so that's extremely relevant. We kind of see what's going on. Kill their homie. They have no creatures after that unless they put Gigantha in their hand, and we have a go for the throw it back up, and we're just putting them to 2 this turn. Like, it's just yeah, it's just over. If they were able to remove our Archfiend, like, it is what it is. I'm trying to not have all these them, so I didn't just Bone Crusher. The Witchstalker Frenzy, deal, yeah. Univault. Yeah, and then we're done. Boom, we're 2-0. Round 3. I'm on the play. Hand is reasonably decent. Into hands like this. They reveal their Gigantha. I don't know, are we lagging? Restart it. Turn 1 Thoughtseize. It's classic. It's just a Convoke deck. Having the turn 1 Thoughtseize against the Convoke deck is pretty powerful. And whatnot. We're just attacking their hand as much as possible. They discard the Shepherd Runes they drew off the top. They have a pretty powerful start here. Hopefully they won't draw anything to have their most powerful draws. I decided to play Fable just to smooth out what's going on. I'm not really punished by much. He's just going to jam as hard as possible with the Warden, and I really, really need to draw a removal spell for the Warden. If I do, then we're okay. So I discard 2 cards to dig for the removal spell. I do not hit. I play the Inti to attempt to continue to dig for the removal spell. Discard the Fable because I don't need it. Of course I miss. At this point, I'm pretty worried. Like I made that attack because I needed to dig. I'm really, really worried about the removal spell thing. Because I'm worried about that Warden like just killing me in the air. It doesn't matter what I have on the field, especially with that case. Now I can't dig further with Inti. And now I'm at 6. They solved their case. I decide to play the Archfiend just to like be able to chump block, I guess. Because you know they're going to pump it up again. And they're just going so ridiculously all in on this thing. And I have one more chance to draw a removal spell, and I miss and concede. Game 2. I keep a pretty decent hand against that. Removal spell, Hitotsugu, Blood Tithe if I want to advance my board. And so I just Fatal Push this. So they can't do their Convoke nonsense. Hit our Blood Tithe. Feeling good. Feeling good. Decided to just play another Blood Tithe and sacrifice my original Blood Tithe to be able to kill the Warden. And so we're really keeping them off stuff pretty well, which is fine. We Hitotsugu just everything away. Hitotsugu is so good against this deck, by the way. They just put the Gigantha in their hand, and then we get to start actually advancing our board. So we play Fable, which is just a disgusting card. Unfortunately, they hit a tap land, and I'm discarding 2 cards just to hit some more removal spells because I likely need it. I think we hit our 3rd Fable too because I discarded the Fable. Decided to play the Fable. We have a Torch the Tower and a Shoot the Sheriff as needed in our hand. They just decide to play Gigantha, which is totally okay with me because it is not an outlaw, it turns out. I decided to just end step or during their turn shoot the Sheriff, untap, and just keep jamming. And you probably see how this ends. I just keep those removal spells in my hand. Discard the non-removal spell. I wasn't super worried about just having that land for the Hive because I wanted to leave the removal spells. I wanted as many removal spells as possible anyway. And I believe it's a turn 2 clock anyway. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, it is. And they concede in game 3 against Zwiener. I hate it here. We had a mulligan. We kept a pretty removal and Thoughtseize heavy hand. This decision at the beginning is kind of tough. I decided to go with the Thoughtseize because I felt like that would better stop what our opponent is doing. I see double Venerated Loxodon, Warden, land, and Invasion of Gobakon. I decided to just like take the Invasion of Gobakon, so I'm clear to do other stuff. And then I decided to remove their Scary Creature, because there's no real way that they'd be able to Loxodon this next turn. They play a Thalia. I decided to let Thalia resolve so I could just like kill the Thalia. This is probably a mistake letting them untap, because if they hit an untap land, then they could just play the Loxodon, and then I'm in a little bit of trouble. They did hit the untap land, but they were a little greedy by playing Thraben Inspector first. They probably thought I was playing okay, but instead I was in the process of punting, but I sequencing got me out of it, and then we hit Itsugu, wipe their board. They have 2 Loxodon in their hand, and they're in a lot of trouble. They just put Gigantha in their hand. I get to play this Fable. It's possible I should have just kept a land in my hand to discard to Fable instead of getting into damage, but meh. Love both of these cards. I'm just playing both. I think, yeah, I don't discard to Fable. And now we're just like so ridiculously far ahead on board. And we just jamming. We jamming, man. And they just concede to the massive board and being dead the next turn. So we're 3-0. In round 4, we keep turn 1 Thoughtseize hand, which feels great. We're playing against Greasefang, which is a little scary. I decided to just take the Chariot. Since we're going to turn 2 Kroxa like anyway, so they're going to have vehicles in their graveyard. It's a little bit of a scary thing because if they hit Greasefang, we're in a teensy bit of trouble. But we're killing the Rafine's Informant. They just go tap land, which is excellent for us. And now we need to fade Greasefang 1 more turn, and then we can leave Power Word Kill up for the rest of our lives. However, they Thoughtseize, so that's a little bit scary. However, we can Hive to be able to get that vehicle out of the graveyard, and we faded for enough turns, which makes that hit, or the Thoughtseize, I think pretty good, because the Seeker's Chariot is excellent against us, like you're going to see here. I just jam into them, put him to 7, which is actually pretty low. I'm still really afraid of Greasefang. There are 2 different ways that made Greasefang not a big deal, and our opponent has dealt with both. And so now we just kind of need to get a little lucky, and they Sky Sovereign our homie down. However, that turns on Kroxa, which is pretty sweet. We attack, get our treasure, and then we are just bringing back Kroxa. They have 0 cards in hand, and this puts him to 2, which is just hyper aggro. I have a 6/6, like, let's do this thing kind of thing. I'm also playing pre-combat Archfiend, which means that if they block at all, they're losing life from Archfiend, and that ends the game. In game 2, I decided to keep this removal heavy hand because it's decent against the Greasefang draws. They Thoughtseize and I draw a land, so I'm like getting a little scared, frankly. So we really need to draw out of it. We drew a Fable, which just really helps us draw out of it. They have a really medium cash grab, and then Rafine's Informant to discard a Seeker's Chariot. So now I'm like pretty soft to Greasefang. I don't think I can care about that, and I just play Fable because I need to dig out of this thing. They go Seeker's Chariot. Which again, a Seeker's Chariot is just excellent as a mid-range card against us, unfortunately. But now we can start digging for actual action, where we hit a Blood Tithe Harvester, and we get a Fatal Push, which is very good. I'm able to attack with a Goblin Shaman because I can just sack the treasure to kill the Seeker's Chariot if they so choose. They decide to block. This is totally fine because now they can't man up a Seeker's Chariot. Then they play a Shieldred, and I'm glad we're able to save, the Fatal Push, take out the Asika's Chariot. They have a tapped Shieldred. I'm going to continue drawing cards. That was a bit of a miss sequence on my part, unfortunately. But I'm trying to bring the pain as much as possible. They're attacking with their Shieldred. Things are really scary. They play another Seeker's Chariot. So we just Takenuma. We're looking for something. We had an Archfiend. This is really, really good beside a now non-summoning sick Reflection. So we play the Archfiend. We do that, like just jam. We have a blocker. Now I'm not really even worried about a Grease Fang. Like things are chill. We even have Fatal Push. I'm just like doing the Archfiend, gonna Fatal Push something, and we win. Yay! Archfiend is disgusting. Then in the last round, we keep a 5-lander. I don't mind keeping land heavy hands in when we like have a Fable in our hand, in hopes of us actually like using it. Looks like we're playing against Heroic. It's a pretty good matchup for us if we're able to effectively play around God's Willing. Trophy match against Heroic feels really good as well. I'm just playing the Fable. I don't care if they just plotted a Slick Shot Show Off. Hit me as hard as you want, dude. I'm just going to untap and shoot the Sheriff. I really need to dig out of not having these, lands in my hand. This also baited Show Off out a tiny bit. Hitting the Thoughtseize is amazing because I can clear the way in case they had a God's Willing or something like that. And that's exactly what I do. They didn't really have much, so just shoot the Sheriff. They try to draw a card because they need to draw a creature or they're in big trubs. I play a land, and now I'm going to have a flipped Fable and an Archfiend. Both excellent. Next turn I can start gaining life off of Graveyard Trespasser as well. Decided to block with the Fable because I didn't want them pumping through the Archfiend, because the Archfiend living is a very, 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 very important. In fact, imperative, I believe, to me winning. So, but the Graveyard Trespasser just as a blocker. I decided to block. They need something that pumps toughness, which they had, which is totally fine because it also doesn't give trample. We're saving a lot of life by doing it this way. I decided to just jam. I have another blocker, in Hive. I'm not sure why I didn't duress there. Oh, maybe I knew what they had. Why didn't I duress there? I did not know what they had. I don't know why I didn't duress. But we just had the blocker and they conceded. End game 2. In our trophy match, this hand is disgusting against my opponent's deck. It's so good. It's so good. I have awkward lands, so I decided to just answer the Monastery Swiftspear instead of having 2 untapped lands the following turn. In hindsight, I feel like that's wrong. But as long as I don't get hit insanely hard here, it should be okay. Unfortunately, I did not draw the 3rd land for the hit at Sugu, and they hit a Showdown. So that's like really bad for me. Finally hit the 3rd land, just a turn late for the hit at Sugu. Totally fine. We wipe the board. They just have like a Titan Strength and a Reckless Rage and some lands off of this. So they just like cash in on the scry. So the Showdown was actually not great, like at all. I just jammed this Archfiend out because Archfiend is just so good, bro. It's so good. They have a 3/3. I call. They're probably going to pump into it. Gain's indestructible, sure. Getting that out of their hands really good because now they only have 1 card. This homie flips. I have a fist full of cards. All very good. Just playing another Archfiend, like, good luck. Whatever you do, I'm double blocking. They just pass, which is a giant sign of weakness. And now we can start cashing in on our inties. We had a Fable, which is pretty good. I mean, we already have Fable in our hand. I'd kind of rather it be a removal spell. But our life total is still very high, and we have a bunch of blockers. And they concede. There you have my 5-0 minus round 1 with RB Midrange. I think this deck is excellent. It's actually in the lead for what I'm going to be playing at the RC. If you like this video and want to see more like tournament analysis, replay videos like this, please be sure to like and subscribe. Check me out on social medias. Links are above me and in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.